All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Ag Warriors podcast studio. Regina, Saskatchewan, right now is where I'm at. Zach, where are you at?
I am currently in Northern Illinois right now in my home office. So,
Right on. So I am super excited. Zack Youngquist, I'm assuming I said that
yep,
right. Yeah.
yep.
I'm excited to be joined by Zach, and excited to have you on and hear your story and all of those things. But I mean, you referenced that it's Black Friday. So are you home alone because everybody's out shopping?
No, no. Wife and daughters are here, and that's the truly the. If there's an excuse to stay in the house or stay with them, I take that excuse if I can. Um, that's the one thing I've learned through this whole journey is I obviously workaholic and all of those things go with the trade, but I'm 39 now. Charlotte's 7. And my wife's expecting our first boy. So
Oh,
yeah,
congratulations!
yeah. So
That's exciting.
yeah, yeah. So
Are you breaking
um,
the news to the world on Ag Warriors?
I guess so. So I so I'm gonna be 40 with a newborn. So I mean, I guess I'll probably have to be here a little more often than I have in the past. But yeah.
Well, I mean, that's exciting. So let's go back to the beginning. Tell me, like, for somebody who doesn't know you, where did you grow up? Where were you born and raised?
So a little town called Cameron, Illinois, western part of kind of the Warren County, Monmouth, Galesburg, western part of the state, northwest, more kind of northwest central, and fifth generation farmer. My family's been there for a very long time. Uh, grew up, grew up absorbed in the farm. We had cattle and hogs, and then got out of cattle and then got out of hogs my senior year of high school. I think Dad, when I was going to college, he realized his free labor was leaving for a bit with the hogs, so he decided to quit being in the hog finishing industry the year that I got out of high school. Um, but then yeah, went to
It's fun.
school for
Free labor all the way through high
free
school, and
free labor. I mean, he did pay me though. We did have a pretty good working relationship actually, because he didn't buy me anything, but I forced him to pay me a wage if he wasn't going to do that. So, um,
that's a story that I've heard a few times now, especially in the Midwest, where your generation is the first generation to not really do hogs or not do cattle, and because for a long time hogs and cattle were a big part
oh,
of what
everything
happened.
they were, they were, and it. I mean, I kind of wish today. I wish today I had cattle. Look at the market. I wish
Yeah,
I wish I had the hogs for the manure. I think there's a great manure is a great asset to have on the
especially if it's
farm,
free.
especially if it's free.
Yeah.
But no, so I did that, then went to Northern Illinois University in DeKalb for business. I actually decided to go there instead of University of Illinois for ag. I felt like I needed more of a business oriented degree than agriculture. And then really just been self taught since then. I mean, school was great, disciplined me, but and I had the thought that I would go and stick around away from the farm because there wasn't really room for me yet with Grandpa and Dad. But then my senior year of college, Grandpa got sick, and so I went back. I don't have a degree. I left the last semester with the intention of always going back to getting that last those last 12 credits I needed. Never did, and
Hmm.
but
Are you going to?
I I could, but I'd have to take a lot more now. It's just one of those things where Grandpa got sick and he needed help. Dad was running the seed business, so Dad was a pretty large Pioneer dealer for a number of years. He actually started the seed business the year I was born, and which is kind of a cool thing. But
Why
so he was
is it why is it a cool thing? Tell me
well
about
that the year I was born he started selling seed, right? That was kind of the year that our outside of just being farmers, the I guess the retail side of things started was the year that I was born in 1986, and so he grew a pretty big Pioneer seed dealership and had a really really good reputation. Dad was one of those guys that I mean he was honest you could not, you didn't find a single person that didn't have a great relationship with him. And my grandfather was the same way. They were both very respected. And so grandpa got sick. And so I went back to the farm to kind of help out things on his end and essentially just stayed. I was planning on maybe doing, as my degree was in business management and with a minor in finance. And I was thinking about doing something in the financial world, in the Chicagoland area before there was room for me to come back. And well, grandpa got sick. And so when I was 24 years old, I took out a several $1 million note to basically buy the farm from grandpa, right as he was essentially passing, buy it from grandma. And so it took a ton of risk really young. And I have learned an enormous amount of things since then. I've been to the point to where the bank wants to, take everything from me, and we've rebounded from that.
What's the scariest it's been? Like you're 39, so 15 years.
39.
15 years. You've been through some tough years too. What's the
So
scariest?
the scariest thing that we had happen for us. So when shortly after I came back, Dad was selling precision planting, but he was the original precision planting dealer with Greg Sauter when he had Pioneer Dealers, essentially doing the meters, just the meters. And that's all Dad was doing. And so I saw an opportunity to make it a real business. And so that was my first step into servicing a grower outside of our own farm. And then obviously helping Dad with the seed. I was a face, but not a part of the, full part of the business. And so that was a really good first venture into something that was a little bit simpler, not quite as customer intensive all year long. So I did that, and then I realized fairly quickly that locally, a lot of our co-ops have been bought out by the CPS at the time before they were Nutrien and Growmark, and there was not really a great chemical option for some of our smaller growers locally. And so I asked Dad, I said, well, why aren't we pairing DuPont chemistry with Pioneer Seed? There was that True Choice program that everyone knows about. So most guys hate it, but I mean, that was something that, existed. And so I asked the question, and he said, well, the local chem guys just aren't interested in servicing DuPont chemistry. I didn't realize that DuPont chemistry wasn't that sexy and was kind of hard to make all the active ingredients work well. But I thought, well, this is a good match. And so that first year, which would have been 2014, we sold almost $500,000 in chemical to our local smaller farmers that we were servicing through seed. And then within 3 months, I literally had the head of DuPont North America in Dad's office there, because he's like, who the heck are you? And how did you sell $500,000 worth of DuPont chemistry? We actually hooked up with a very well-known retailer in Western Illinois, Ed Logan, Logan Ag Services. Really still have a great relationship with him today. He helped us to move the chemical. And so these guys are in the office and they're saying, well, this is a fantastic thing. This is a model that we want to have happen. We want Pioneer dealers to help move our chemistry. So we felt like that was something that was going to happen. We grew that fairly quickly within the next year or two, and we're selling several $1 million in chemical. And I had a really big head on my shoulders thinking, oh my gosh, I'm taking business from Nutrien. I am doing really, I'm the top dog, right?
Right. How many acres were you guys farming at that time?
Farming at the time, probably a little over 2,800. Today we've got about 4,000. But
so you're farming 2,800. You're the largest Pioneer dealer.
Not largest, but large.
Yeah. But in your area, you probably would have been the largest Pioneer dealer.
Yes.
And if not the largest in the state, one of the largest chemical dealers as well.
Definitely the seed rep chem dealer largest for sure. For sure.
Crazy. And 2,800 acres.
Yes.
And just you and your dad.
We had employees, but yes. Right. But we didn't have too many employees at the time. We've got several more today. So yeah, I felt like we can kind of conquer the world, and we were winning farmers' hearts, I believe, over just the personalized service that they weren't really getting from the larger companies, plus a price point that was good margin for us, but just not trying to, you buy off all the local co-ops, you can really raise that margin. So especially on the smaller farmers, 2017 comes around, and I think the local larger companies were kind of ticked off about the growers we were taking, and they came out at a price point that was, 10-15% below my cost. And while I did have some good loyalty from guys, they didn't cut us out completely. We had good relationships. That was about the same time Pioneer Seed started to take a little bit of a nosedive as far as being at the top again. It felt like for a few years, and then falling kind of back. That we took a beating. I had a couple $1 million in chemistry that it took me a few years to sell in inventory. And so when I reference the bank and just being that leveraged, they were close. I mean, I think it's important for everyone to be honest in this industry, because I have no problem saying that I struggled, with that financial decision that we made for several years. And we were close to potentially them taking some land or taking something. We weathered our way through it. Ed Logan was actually an incredible seller to us to help us get through that as well. I always want to give him a shout out. But we weathered that storm, and I realized very quickly that if I wanted to be successful, I needed to be very, very unique, and we could not try to beat the big guys at the exact same game that they are currently playing,
because they'll just undercut you. So what was
they will just undercut us.
What was that like? I mean, so 2017, you're
big yields,
early 30s, big yields. You're getting cut at the knees. What was that like with you and your dad? Because working with your dad, and I grew up, I knew by the time I got out of high school, I knew I didn't want to work with my dad. I didn't want to do construction. Plus, it's really hard working with your old man. What was that like when that stress was going? And your old man's probably, he would have been similar to where my old man was in age, and that's a different generation.
Yeah. So my biggest fan, for sure, through everything, wanted to see me succeed in every single thing. So I think what his biggest role was, okay, Zach, how can I help you to manage this crisis? Right. So to be honest, we leveraged some family ground to help spread things out and get things through and get rid of that chemical over the next 3 or 4 years. But, he was scared. He had never taken the risk to that degree like I did, I suppose, so there was never quite the same, he never had quite that same risk tolerance that I do. And so, but it brought us closer together, because it made us work more together than it did independently of each other. Because in a lot of ways, we had worked fairly independent. Dad's working on the seed. I'm working on the farm and chem. I'm farming Dad's ground for him. It was just a kind of a good, easy relationship. And it made us get a lot sharper with the pencil, probably sharper than he'd ever been to himself. And, try to weather that storm.
Yeah, that would have been, that's cool that he was all in on helping you figure it out.
It doesn't always happen that way.
No, I was going to say the support is not always there.
Yeah.
Especially, from his perspective, where he's built something over years. Kid comes in, like you said, you had a bit of a big head, and then all of a sudden found out pretty quick if somebody wants to cut you, 15% under your cost. Lucky you had some people that would be loyal, but
we had some guys that stayed loyal on a percentage of the business. So it kept us going forward. Essentially, it kept us not having to essentially probably file something like that.
Right.
Something.
Well, and you can't blame the farmers because 15%,
Yep.
That's a huge.
Well, and it was almost a 30%, 35% savings to what they had the year before. And it's just, when you're an $8 million little independent dealer versus $1 billion company can weather that a lot faster than you can. But it opened my eyes up. And since then, I've been exponentially sharper with everything. I've still made some mistakes for sure. I'll make mistakes every year. My wife calls our ROI plot that we have is 160 acres of trials my going broke plot, essentially, because I waste so much money on it, But it's the best way to learn, and I'm kind of glad that in my career at a younger age, I suppose, I was able to understand what I couldn't do. So,
yeah, and that is a big thing. Ag. The big companies can do that. They can come in and do things, and clearly, you probably didn't think about it at the time, but clearly you're doing something right. If little old you's doing something for the farmers and being able to to grow that quickly, clearly you're doing something right, and you had people looking at you as a threat.
I think so to a degree. Humbly, I think that I was just a small threat that maybe they were annoyed with, but yeah, I mean,
West Nile disease is carried by mosquitoes,
yeah, true. Good point.
right?
Good point.
If you're doing this and you're causing ripples there, they probably are like, wait a minute, if he can do it there, this is a vulnerability across our whole system. We need to squash him to make sure nobody else gets this idea.
And in that same nature, the same time, 2017, 2018 timeframe, Pioneer, they went from basically saying you're the next model to we want nothing to do. We don't even want you working with chemicals. You're spending too much time on the chemical and not enough on the seed. And so I believe that there were a lot of farmer dealers selling chemical. That's since really cut back because I think the big companies said, hey, no, we're not DuPont or Corteva, whoever, we're not going to support you if you're focusing on your seed dealer selling the chemical, because you need to support us. And that's what we thought was pretty cool when the head of DuPont North America comes into your office and it's like you're doing the right thing. 2 years later, you were doing the wrong thing. And that's probably because there was some squawking. Not that I was the only one doing it, but there were several other guys who had the same idea throughout the Midwest. I spoke with several of them, still keep a relationship with some today, and they're not selling any chemical. We're still selling chemical, but it's nowhere close to what we used to. I've got some great loyal guys that we work with on a really detailed basis, and that's the relationship that I love more than anything.
And were you still selling precision at the time?
Were you still selling precision at the time? And there, precision is we're still a precision dealer. I'm working with another larger local dealer, simply because that was never going to be a huge business of ours. We're manufacturing fertilizer now. That's our bread and butter. We still sell seed. We're not selling Pioneer anymore. That's a whole long story. But it really has the entire mindset of what I'm trying to build and create throughout the entire Midwest is really just this independent, vertically integrated machine that maybe can slowly start to compete against those big guys and not take the big leaps, but chew away slowly and maybe make a change in the long run. And that's kind of
what's the number? What's the number before a big guy comes in and says, Zach, I'll give you 50 million?
It's working right now. I mean, what we're doing, we've got close to 350.
That's not an answer. Is it 75 million? Is it 100? Like, what's your number?
Well, here's the thing. The company that owns the fertilizer is owned by several farmers outside of myself. It's not just me. So I'm creating barriers to those numbers because I feel like there's a legitimate possibility that we can scale this thing together. We can scale what I'm trying to build together. And there's the reason that Interpose Ag is the owner of Unicorn Fertilizer. And I'm a majority owner, but I've got 5 other guys invested in now with me in that company, farmers. So it's not just my decision if we sell. I'm trying to expand that ownership to several hundred throughout the Midwest. And the idea behind that is, well, that can prevent one of us from being way too greedy, because I believe everything gets. I mean, you look at all of these startup companies.
They all get bought.
There's a ton of them. I mean, yourself included. And
100 million is my number.
Yeah, I can't say that probably is my number too, but it would not just be up to me. So that's what I like about that. How it's not just up to me. And that was intentional design. I think I can own this, and I'm doing the majority of the work to build this company myself. But this creates a barrier to ultimately try to get to that altruistic goal that we have, which is farmer-owned, vertically integrated inputs. I mean, that's essentially what it is. I figured out.
If you can get to that, that's huge.
I think so. That's more of the goal than just the fertilizer. The fertilizer is insanely unique. I mean, it took me 5 years and 4,700.
It has to be if it's called Unicorn. It can't be like every other fertilizer. I don't want to get there. We're jumping so far ahead. When do you and we'll get there. But when did you meet your wife? Like how, you've referenced her a couple times, but I don't know where she fits into this.
So my wife's the same age as I am. She's three months older, so she's, I'm the spring chicken. She
Ah,
looks
she
15
robbed the
years.
cradle. Yeah,
She looks 15 years younger than I do. But um,
smart.
one of the most brilliant women. I mean, she's exponentially more intelligent than I am. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt. She's the realist.
Is she listening right now? Is that why you're saying that?
She's not listening.
Okay.
She is the realist. I'm the idealist, and
Ah,
that's a great yin and yang for what we're trying to build here. And I've got a group of about 10 folks. We have close to 12 that work for us or with us now. They're incredibly good human beings who really balance out my drive, ambition, and just I will push everything to the limit. They're great at kind of pulling my reins back to make this thing legitimately continue on. Jacqueline's one of those people. She's like I said, she would probably be a top corporate attorney in the Chicagoland area if she wanted to be. I mean, she's ruthless. Like she's in all the good ways. Like she just very, very talented. So I met her in 2010, actually at my parents' lake house in Lake of the Ozarks, and she was a last minute addition to the trip. I was standing on Dad's boat. She's walking down the stairs, and I'm like, "Oh, that's okay. I'm glad she's here." I didn't know she was coming,
right.
and
Did you know
she
who
took.
she was beforehand?
I did not, and her friends, who were my friends, said that her and I would get along quite well. They were telling her that she wasn't looking for a relationship. I wasn't either. She shook my hand, incredibly firm handshake. I fell in love within 2 seconds. It took her a few weeks.
A few weeks.
A
That's
few weeks, yeah.
would she
Yeah.
agree that it took a couple weeks or
I think I think she would agree it took a couple of weeks, yes.
right.
Yeah.
That's cool. And so
Yeah.
she was in school, I guess 2010 or
Yeah,
just
so she
finishing
was actually
school.
finishing up her at Elmhurst. She's from St. Charles, outside of Chicago, which is actually where I reside now. I reside a couple hours away from the farm, and part of that reason is both my parents passed in January in a car accident, and so we've kind of moved a little bit away. I've got a great team that can kind of manage the farm. We're still growing the farm, doing all those things. From here, I can be a little bit more focused on the fertilizer business, and we're actually surrounded by 40 to 50 of her family members literally within 25 minutes. And most of my family's moved away from the Monmouth
From
area. So
so she went to school to be a lawyer then, I'm assuming?
no, she did not, but she's talking about going back potentially to do that. Now with number two on the way, I'm not sure that's going to happen really soon. But she would be. It's we've had, with the building of this company, and now with both my parents passing and with all the family estate stuff. My grandmother passed a couple months after my parents did, and so all the family ground is all currently in the, what stage is that? And so she's been a really good force to helping me balance some of that stuff outside of the lawyers that we're working with to try to figure out all the logistics of this. Um, and it's made me aware that her talents are pretty immense, and I need to continue to utilize her as an asset in the business. So,
Well, that's unique, and I hope that you don't just say that on Ag Warriors, that you also tell her that, because I think that
yeah,
if you can find yourself somebody who looks 15 years younger than you and is smarter than you, and I can see why you fell in love in 2 seconds. Um, but so I mean, you referenced it here. Let's talk about your parents and how that happened. I mean, I can't even imagine what that would be like, especially because it sounds like you were really close with your dad.
yeah. So in Dad's eulogy that I gave, I started it off with, "What do you say about the best friend that you didn't know you had?" Right. So like that kind of sums up Dad and I's relationship. He was um by far my biggest fan, my biggest advocate, and I think I was his at the same time, to have him succeed later in life. And they he and I worked, we knocked down drag out fights, father son for sure, right? But then at the end of the day, we always shook hands and said, you know, son, I appreciate what you're doing. Dad, I appreciate you, and we'll walk away from this. And yeah, 5 a.m. they're going to Florida to go on their couple month vacation that they've earned at this age, and uh, they're driving down to Peoria to fly out. And dad being the way he is, of course, he can't get the regular flight, has to get the super early one because it saves him $25. And they're driving down in the night in a 70-mile-an-hour collision, head on. They both instant. Mom was life flighted because she had brain activity, but she wasn't there. And so I got a phone or police officer at my door at 4:45 or 5:10 in the morning. I can't remember exactly what time it was. Told me the news, and dad was gone. Mom's been life flighted, and so I quickly went into, got to get to mom mode, you know, just instantly do that. My sisters are several hours away, and so yeah, quite a shock. And there for several months, I was definitely the rock that everyone needed to lean on. You know, I process it in a little bit more challenging way maybe than my sisters did. You know, and then also, you know, every single day being with my dad versus not, you know, business partner, let alone, you know, the relationship, and mom too. But yeah, it was tough. It was hard. You know, the one thing I've said though is there's a lot of folks that have had things worse happen to them. I know you know, it's hard to have them both go at the same time for sure. And you know, just missing that guidance. And you know, my Charlotte's only 7. She was 6 when they passed, and she's the oldest grandchild, so they did not get to see the grandkids really grow up like they should have. My mom, you know, dad was not the healthiest guy in the world, so he wasn't going to stick around for a super long time, but mom was 70 going on 110. You know, she was going to live for 30, 40 years for sure. I mean, she's just the healthiest woman I've known. I mean, she looked like she was 55, and yeah, just a real tragedy. But they had taught me, you know, dad had taught me so much by the time he passed that I don't think he left too much on the table. You know, I feel like when I reflect on it all, I really did learn. Yeah, I learned a lot more than probably I think the average 39-year-old might from their dad. Um, and I think that went a long ways to, you know, being able to, you know, deal with the passing. My wife and I are pretty devout Catholics, and that's helped too. You know, we know where they are and where they need to be. So
One of the things that you had said is you had I mean, it doesn't always happen this way, but you'd had a really impactful conversation with your father shortly before that. What, like, I'm sure that's something that you've thought about a lot. What brought the conversation on? What was?
so we had shortly before they passed, there was some disagreements in how to handle some of their land in the future, with them wanting to retire and me trying to take it on and then be fair to my sisters. And so we had been somewhat at odds, I would say, for maybe a few months at least. And then 3 days before they passed, my parents both came into my office, and everybody left feeling good, feeling okay, feeling like stuff was going in the right direction now. And so that was pretty huge. I think that happened. And you know, I feel like that's the one thing that I can now today, where there's still some mistake things my parents should have done that they did not, to make things maybe a little easier on us kids. But the dynamic of ag, legacy planning is probably the single most important thing that needs to happen, and it never happens.
It
Ever.
never happens. Like, I can't tell you how many farmers I've talked to, and even if it's not sudden like it was with your parents, but it can just they can't come. And I think it's probably because, and I don't know this, but it's because they feel like they need to be fair to everybody, and so they don't know what that looks like, and so then they don't deal with it even though they should deal with it. And then all of a sudden now the kids are forced to try to figure out what's fair. And I mean, estate planning is probably the number one reason farms are sold. I don't have facts or stats to back that up, but it causes major issues, that succession planning.
It does, especially when one heir is farming and then the other two, three are not.
Right.
You know, and most like that. That's our situation. Which, not to get into the details, it's having its challenges right now. I do feel like that everything is going to work out okay. It helps that I was a major part of the business ownership before they passed. I think that's a big thing. And I think the only thing I can preach here for anyone that hears this is if you don't have a firm plan in place, which the majority of you probably do not, is do that now. Have that hard conversation. Have that hard conversation. Have all those hard conversations, and get that plan in place. Get a good lawyer. Work with the bank. Whatever you got to do. There's a guy called Legacy Farmer. I'm seeing on. He looks like I haven't really dug into his stuff, but it looks like he's making a real effort with his company to try to create some of that. And so I just I can't preach that more than really anything. Just make a plan.
Yeah, that's tough. So do you have a plan then?
Yes. So my wife, her dad passed away young too, in 2018 of brain cancer. And so when he passed away, we set all of our stuff up. We set it all up. Yep. We just instantly saw that happen, and so we've got our plan in place, trusts in the right places, and Jacqueline and I have set up everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is the thing that seems to just, no matter how much it's talked about, and it's talked about like, I've been hearing about estate planning and succession planning for the last, I've been in ag 13 years. I bet you it became a really big topic in like 2017, 2018. I kept hearing about it. Here we are, 2025, and it's still a big deal. So let's I'm glad you got that. I'm glad you got that chance to have that conversation and kind of to move on from that thing. And my condolences. Like, I can't even imagine that phone call and what that all led. And I'm sure it's clearly still tough now.
It is. Harvest was challenging. Dad would run one of the combines, and it's hard. But I can still talk to him, and in some ways with the faith that I do have, I feel like one of the things that my dad tried to do and probably struggled with the most was how he could help me the most while he was alive. And I feel like today maybe he's got a little bit more power in how he can help me, and I think he's able to do that. So I have real faith that he can still be somewhat of an instrument in the future and guide me in the right ways. So,
oh, that's cool. So let's talk about unicorn. Like, what in the heck? That's one of the things that intrigued me as I was reading and learning about you, was like, how in the hell did you come up with this idea? And where are you? Yeah, let's just start there. How in the hell did you come up with this idea?
So when I first came back to the farm, we stopped spreading dry fertilizer and started stripping dry fertilizer. When I realized and learned and researched that we could be more efficient with banding their burst broadcasts. Then we started to do a combination of dry fertilizer and liquid fertilizer. Then I realized there was no great options for liquid fertilizer, especially to run it in season. Then early on, I felt like in Western Illinois, where we can just go throw corn out there and make 250 bushel, there's got to be ways to make that more profitable and make that, actually increase those yields a little bit higher with a real ROI. So we started the ROI plot back in 2013, 2014, which was only 20 acres. It's expanded to 100 with over 200 side-by-sides of products we trial every single year. In the last 12 years, the products that have ROI'd out of the several hundred we've tried might be 2, right? So when you consistently trial a product that's been made at the price point that it's sold at, which is too high most, if they would reduce price points on some of these products, I think they could be more effective. But I wasn't seeing anything that could move the needle. And this was on deep dark prairies, but also some clays and some other things that we farm. We don't just farm the deep dark prairie. That's the majority of the farm, but there's also some farms that we have that are a little bit more average to the rest of the Midwest. So I've been driven to one, finding out the margin that exists in all these supplemental products, and well, potash and DAP today is absolutely atrocious. Seed too, all of it's atrocious. It's just pure atrocious. You can't get black labeled for saying that. The margins that exist are insane.
Well, guys are losing money. Like the average farmer can't be making money. It's breaking even at best.
Yes, and the fact that we're okay with that is
insane.
It's hard. It's hard to swallow. And so I'm driven enough. I love to research enough, and I figured out that I actually love chemistry. I took chemistry in high school, but I did not realize that I have such a passion for it after starting to formulate fertilizer back in 2017. But let's go back to 2017. I'm in my grandmother's cornfield right by her house where Grandpa spread manure for decades. I've got 800 parts per million K in the soil, and I've got corn at V10 that's showing potassium deficiency. So I asked Darren Kennelly, my really trusted independent agronomist who has worked hand in hand with me on developing this fertilizer and steering me in the right direction. Why? And he said, well, it's not getting into the plant. And so we had already been trying some other products to help get potassium into the plant, but it was all at recommended rates where you put on 0.26 pounds and hope to get a response. You know, nothing had significant pounds of real fertilizer, or it was this enzyme or some other products that says it's going to do it and it doesn't do it. And it costs you $15 an acre every time you do it. So I'm like, I started the research and I figured out that in different industries, they were doing some unique things to try to formulate and concentrate liquid products at a higher concentration at normally a concentration that would maybe separate salt out or freeze or what have you. And so, to make a short story long, in 2017, I started a lab in my basement and then my farm and then back in my garage. And the neighbors, I think, thought that I was making meth.
Breaking Bad right away. As soon as you said it,
I was like, that's how this started. I did hire a chem engineer for 8 months, you know, to teach me formulas that I needed to know and learn. I'm asking her questions. She's giving me feedback. You know, can I do this? Can I mix this? Can I react this?
Did you blow anything up?
What's that?
Did you blow anything up?
I didn't blow anything up, but we had some things, you know, be scary to look at. But that really is how it started. It's not some, you know, $1 million lab, $1 billion lab, whatever. It was just me saying, hey, I think I've learned some things. I think I can maybe make something from this. It took me almost 5 years and close to 5,000 replications in my lab to essentially create Unicorn Heavy today, which is a 226-37 liquid weighing 15 pounds per gallon, and it literally is the heaviest, most concentrated liquid P and K fertilizer that exists in North America, probably the world. I don't know what claims I can legally make. And it's unbelievably safe. Like it is, we have put 30 gallons in furrow on corn and soybeans. The plants have been fine. So that's almost 200 pounds of K, 150 pounds of P in furrow. And you see a yield increase. Now there's a curve where too much,
it doesn't make
ROI,
sense. Yeah.
Shows the safety.
But you're not killing it.
We're not killing it. Shows the safety of the product. In fact, where we ran the 30 gallon on the beans this past year, we had a field day where I pulled the roots on these beans, and I'm expecting the 30 gallon the roots to look worse, and they look better than where we didn't apply it. And I'm like, this is just crazy to me that this is that safe. And it ended up being an 8 bushel response when we put that 30 gallons, which was not economical. However, the really cool thing is with what I've learned on my own farm between the baning of dry fertilizer for the last 15 years and then a combo of liquid dry, then all liquid the last 5, is if you're putting nutrients on in season, you need more than 5 pounds. A lot of companies out there right now with their programs are recommending you can use all my enzymes and all my crap and then you can get by with 5 pounds of P&K, and you're not going to mine your soils. There's companies that existed 25 years ago that mined everybody's soil in my area because they did not say you've got to put on real pounds of P&K or sulfur or what have you. That's not my mantra. I wanted to figure out a way to very efficiently, very safely put on the pounds that are required to see a yield bump, a yield increase at essentially the same price point the farmers are already spending. And so that's essentially what we've created. Unicorn Heavy is the flagship product. There's 3 other products behind it as we try to build out.
So you're basically the same price as the big guys, and you're producing the same yield or better yield?
Better
yield. What's the average yield bump?
Average yield bump on corn is pushing 7. Average yield bump on beans is almost 5. So this Unicorn Heavy with a planter on soybeans, the lights out, going to ROI virtually every single time. My agronomist says, Zach, don't say that, but it's almost 100% win rate. Like when I reference win rate, I mean yield and ROI, and it's replacing your fertilizer you're already using, you know. And so we have run on our own farm for the last 15 years 50 to 70% of a dry spread RX from the University of Illinois of pounds banded between dry and liquid. My K has gone up 20 parts per million in my soil. My P stayed about flat. So I have increased yield substantially. I say our corn average on our farm was in 2014 was probably 230. Today it's almost 280. We were over 286 this year. Beans in 2013 might have been 63. We averaged over 90 this year on our beans. And I'm spending the same money. It's a reallocation of inputs.
We referenced that earlier. It's so insane right now, the input costs and how hard it is. If you can give an extra 5 bushel of beans, I think that's what you said. I mean, now you might make a little bit of money.
I had a Minnesota grower that ran it on several trials this year. This past year was the first year we had product really throughout the Midwest, and it wasn't a substantial amount, but there was tankers that went to almost every state. And the Minnesota grower, we did his yield analysis on soybeans, and the average ended up being like 4.7 across 6 different trials, but he was kind of blown away by it. So the cool thing, 2021, when we first came out with a less concentrated version of the product locally, we saw 17 bushel across the board on corn. 17 bushel. And we're like, Darren and I are like, Darren's like, Zach, we created the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm like, or since 90. And I'm like, we did, Darren. And then 22, 23, and 24, we saw good results. We still have a great ROI, but didn't have the huge numbers that we saw in 21. So we were, of course, humbled. God loves to do that. But this year we are seeing pretty consistent, very good returns throughout the majority of the Midwest, where you're seeing at least a 3 or 4 bushel response. There's some 20s out there. There's some zeros out there. I can tell you a story where one of the first years we tried it, a good friend of mine who's a good customer, he's got parts per million of K in the soil of like 70 and P around 8. And I'm thinking, oh, goodness, this is going to smoke the dry fertilizer right next to it. We applied it twice, brought it out. Combine goes through, big fat 0 on the board. So, you know, if you can't be honest about your product, I don't know what you can do. I just know that in the last 15 years of farming, the reason I created this product and reason I created the system around it is because, one, I want to put some of this profitability back in our hands versus the big ag companies. I want to scale this. I want to build manufacturing throughout the Midwest, locally, on farms and on farmer dealerships. We've essentially figured out how to create a small modular chemical reactor system in a shipping container that can be somewhat modular to move, which is pretty cool. A lot of things going on.
That's cool. So how many farmer dealers do you have right now?
We have 8. So we just started signing guys up a few months ago. So this really, since the summer of 2024, we had locally 40 customers. Since then, my customer base, which not everyone's bought products yet, but the customer interest is close to 400 throughout the Midwest. So the numbers getting larger almost every
Can you
day.
take it internationally?
Oh, we could. Yeah. I'd like to.
Give me Brazil.
There's some interest in Brazil already. Yeah.
Yeah. I just set up a company there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the logistically, we're moving a lot more pounds of fertilizer than water on the side of the liquid side, right? And when a farmer can raise 250 bushel corn and only put 7 gallons of this out for his entire P&K program, that's a pretty easy button. Odds of seeing a yield increase are close to 85% on corn and almost 100% on soybeans right now. And I believe the reason for that is because we're taking and we're simply putting all the nutrients on right next to the plant, right when it needs it, in a super safe fashion.
Somebody's gonna do something for sure. Either they're gonna throw a big offer at you and your investors, or they're gonna do something. I mean, it sounds like it's almost exactly like what you saw in 2017, where you are going to be causing ripples. People are gonna come after you. They have to.
I don't think we're big enough for them to care yet.
They will. They will.
I mean,
like if you're doing that, if you're putting 7 pounds on and
7 gallons
or 7 gallons, sorry, you're putting 7 gallons on and you're
replacing all the dry.
Yeah, like.
So that conversation that's a challenging conversation to have, because I'm also saying, hey, you need pounds of nutrients to be successful. You need real pounds. We've figured out that you really only need X amount of pounds to maintain. And that's what I care about, is unless you're trying to build, I want to maintain what you have. And then if you need to build your soils, I still recommend using potash or DAP or MAP when they're cheap. And that's kind of my program, is if those products ever get inexpensive, I plan to broadcast on areas where I'm low in fertility. I plan to. I'm not.
You're not saying cut it out completely. You're saying,
no,
like,
you don't have to cut it out.
Potash is coming from Canada. We're tariffing Canada. It costs a lot.
My raw ingredients right now come from overseas, though, because the products that we're using, we don't make in the U.S. We just don't. We don't make at any scale. My goal, I know how to make those products. I've figured out how to make them, is to manufacture them here in the U.S. Like if we can get to probably $50 or $60 million grossing company, we would be able to afford to put in a small. We're manufacturing, but I'm talking full blown manufacturing. So like right now we have chemical reactions. The reactors get to 450 degrees. They heat up. We got to maintain. We got a cooling jacket. It's the whole 9 yards. But that would be the next step, and then we would really completely control. We'd be sourcing phosphate rock from Morocco then. So
that's cool, man. That's cool. I'm definitely going to have to stay tuned, because I think that is what agriculture needs right now. We need different ways to do things, because we can't just keep doing things the way we're doing. And the big guys, I mean, it's crazy that the price that farmers are getting for their crops right now is shit. There's no other way to put it. But the price that they're paying to produce those crops keeps going up.
It does.
It just keeps going up. It's hard. I mean, I talk to farmers all around the world, and it's hard. It's hard to be a farmer right now. And we're seeing more and more farmers just say, you know what? I mean, how much land around you has gone to solar?
Oh, right? Not a lot.
No?
Not a lot.
I mean, definitely on the East Coast, we're hearing about more and more guys that are like, hey, it's easier to rent that ground out
for 10x what you're making farming it. Yeah.
Right. But you still got to feed the world. Like, people still got to eat.
Yep.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of unproductive acres that fit solar. There's a lot of unproductive acres that fit solar.
I'm not hating on solar, but I'm just saying, like, those are the things that are out there constantly.
Yes.
The pressures that farmers are facing.
The pressure creating the barrier to entry, which is even bigger now. And we can. oh gosh, there was a guy that said something about you've got to keep the system the same, or I don't know, but we can't. We need to be aware of tradition, know what tradition is, and don't forget it.
Right.
But be willing to
Don't be bound
adapt.
by it. Don't be bound by
Don't be bound
tradition.
by it.
Yeah. I heard when I was in Germany, I did a podcast with this 14th generation farmer. 14 generations, dude.
That's
It
cool.
it was cool. But one of the things, like, so the way it works in Germany is you can't just decide your dad was a farmer, you're going to be a farmer. You have to get a like a certificate. You basically have to go through a program to be certified to be eligible to be a farmer, which I thought was like, when he's first telling me this, I thought this is like severe government overreach, right? Like, how is the government going to tell somebody they can be a farmer? But I was like, so what do you have to do? And he's like, well, one of the things, you have to go apprentice on 3 other farms. And
Oh,
I said, well,
that's genius.
right, because he said, like, you have to go learn other things. It's not just about the way your
Yes.
dad did it and your granddad did it. And I said, how many things did you learn that you brought back? And he's like, 2. There's 2 specific things I brought back to my farm that I learned on those farms. And I was like, oh, this is actually really smart.
I did something similar to that growing in high school and college a little bit when I would come back, is I did work for a lot of dad's customers, as opposed to just dad. And that was there's a cut, like, one of them is one of the greatest businessmen I know in farming, period. He's a great customer, a good friend. But from him, I was able to learn how to really sharpen a pencil. Like, it was just, and I'm, not saying my father wasn't, but he had a different, it just, I've said that for a long time, that that exact thing, that kids, when they're coming back to the farm, is you should go work for others.
I mean, we have too much government overreach in the United States and Canada right now already. But I do think, like, if it's mandated that before you can take over a farm legally, you're working for someone else, you're probably going to learn some things that'll benefit the farm.
I would guarantee that. Yeah.
Man, this is a cool story. I would love to sit down and pick your brain, not podcast, about how you're going to the end customer. All these things that you've engaged my sales and marketing side. I'm like, oh man, this needs to get out there. So we'll have to.
It is. Ag Twitter is a real thing, and that's where I've established a lot of my relationships. And then things have kind of fallen from that. The one thing I'll say is, unicorn fertilizer is not a silver bullet. Like, nothing is, right? A lot of guys, I think, it's an exciting thing and an exciting movement that we're trying to build. But I think the shininess of it can wear off fairly quickly. When I have conversations with growers who are like, oh, we're going to create this movement, this farmer movement, and this change the way business is done, the first few weeks and months of the conversations really engage, and then it kind of wears off, and to make something that lasts, you've got to, and I want to partner with the right people to do it. You've got to dig in for the long haul.
Well, and I think that one of the things you referenced there, I mean, I can definitely relate to, is you make something and you're not going to hit it out of the park every single time. You've got to learn from it, and you got to keep adapting and keep, I mean, it seems like your focus is really about the farmer. And if you can keep that focus, it doesn't matter how big you get. If you can keep the focus on the farmer and on the end user, I think, Zach, you're going to do really well.
Well, we'll see where it goes. Hope so.
Good luck.
I do have some interest in Canada. We haven't got any product up there yet.
Look, you want Canada, you want Brazil, I got some ideas, man. I got some ideas. And we grow a lot of corn in Ontario and Manitoba.
Oh, yeah.
And actually,
well, I think
go ahead.
It's the product's been on corn and beans, primarily corn. Guys are kicking themselves for not putting on more beans this year, but I've got this next year. It's being tried on wheat, canola, pinto beans, and some other crops that I don't know anything about. I had one guy ask me, he's like, hey, what about this on canola? And I'm like, I don't even know what canola looks like, dude. Like, I'm an Illinois guy.
You need canola grower. Wow. Man, there's canola being grown by you. There's canola just south of you. I was literally winter canola. I was down giving. I swear to you, I've done 2 seminars now and I didn't grow up on a farm. I'm like, agriculture to me is something that happened later in life, and here I am presenting to growers on growing canola because I live in Canada. Like, and it's just been exposed to so much canola. But you want some places to try it? I got some places for you.
Cool.
And it's not like, it's crazy. I talked to a farmer yesterday for about 45 minutes from Saskatchewan. They don't grow corn in Saskatchewan. They haven't really before. And he's putting 5,000 acres into corn. 5,000 acres. His
what maturity?
It's like 90 day, not 90.
85 to 90.
Yeah. And he's looking for a planter. I'm going to help him do a bunch of things just because we have a bunch of contacts. But
throw a little unicorn on there too.
100%. I'm just thinking like, and I've got all of these farmers all across. I mean, everywhere. You know, that we've done, met over the last 13 years. I mean, my mission, our goal as Thunderstruck, not AgWarriors, is to connect farmers with innovative products that can help them do better on their farms. And I mean, I've never been involved in fertilizer or anything like that, but it's innovative and it'll help farmers.
One thing, there's a guy that I'm working with on the seed side of things to try to be a part of this, and I would rather the experts in their fields work on their field as a part of whatever this is, and we all, like I said, as long as everyone doesn't get too greedy, I'm confident that this could be something that it's much more than just the fertilizer.
So my field is not chemistry.
I'm a terrible salesman. So
well, I'm above average. Oh man, really, really cool, Zach. When's your baby boy due?
April 22nd.
Okay. All right. Well,
timing's a little.
Yeah. You guys did not plan that out well. I mean, most farm families they're really bad at succession planning, but they're usually a little better at family planning. That's a definite accident for sure. Yeah. Well, good luck with that. Oh, dude, I almost forgot the 2 things because you got me all excited here. There's 2 questions I ask every guest. Wow. Okay. I almost blew it. What would 39-year-old Zach tell 21-year-old Zach?
Don't spend any money.
That's what you would. You're a liar. No. What life lesson what would 39-year-old Zach tell 21-year-old Zach? Like, look, man, there's some shit that's going to happen. This is what you need to remember.
I mean, to listen more, be a better listener and talk less. I mean, truly be a better listener and talk less, and be open to other people's ideas. Yeah.
That's good. And the second one, and I started it when I first asked it, the first couple episodes, I was talking about actual weapons, but it's morphed into something so different. But, because it's called AgWarriors, what is your weapon? When you're facing a challenge, you're going into, and it was really weird because I was talking to somebody, like I told you before, that was actually around a war. So not necessarily, like, just you're facing a challenge, you're facing a battle. What's your weapon of choice? What's your go-to? What's the thing that gets you through?
I'd say perseverance. It's not really a weapon, but being persistent. I mean, never. I'd say I don't think I've ever given up on anything. Not really a weapon per se, but
tenacity. That is a weapon.
Tenacity. Yeah. There you go. Tenacity. Yeah. If I want to have something happen, I mean, I'm gonna make it happen. I'll work for 40 hours straight if I have to make sure that thing gets done. And tenacity is probably my best weapon, maybe.
I love that. Right on, man. Well, I appreciate you for joining us.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the AgWarriors podcast, brought to you by Thunderstruck Ag.